Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. With the midterms fast approaching, we turn to some very tight congressional races with huge stakes where awesome progressives are running against some of the worst Republicans in the country. And in that vein, I would like to welcome back to the show congressional candidate Eastman. Welcome to The Damage Report.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Glad to have you here. So there's a few different things I'd like to talk about in your race, which now is in the closing weeks. I saw recently on Twitter that you had done like a tweet thread about strategy and messaging and differentiating yourself from your Republican opponent in terms of you trying to focus on a positive outlook, the policies that you're supporting, and he has gone in a slightly different direction. Can you talk a little bit about that distinction?
Sure. Well, when I launched this campaign, I'm tired of the way that our political system is and the way campaigns are run, and it gets so negative. And I just want to know the facts and what the candidates are putting out and what they support. And then I'm smart enough to be able to make my own decision. And so I feel like the voters deserve that same from me. And so we've really run just a large grassroots campaign, but with a very positive message about what we could be fighting for right now in the country, because I believe that it's better to fight for something than just be against something, although I'm against a lot of things right now. But my opponent, on the other hand, his strategy has been to use Republican talking points to put out ads that spread false information about who I am and what I stand for, and to scare the American public into voting against a terrifying Democrat who just wants people to have health care and debt-free education.
That does sound scary when you put it that way.
It's pretty scary, yeah.
So one of the big trends in this election is like first-time candidates, outsider candidates, really like making their mark on the Democratic Party in a way that I haven't previously seen. Now, in some areas, that has actually led to a little bit of difficulty back in the primary. Some of these new candidates found that some of the traditional establishment groups, which do help to fund these primary campaigns, do endorsements and things like that, they were very hands-off, if not even hostile in some cases, to candidates like that. What was your experience in that area in terms of some of these traditional large groups sort of getting involved in the primary process?
Well, for us, most of the establishment groups stayed out or supported my primary opponent. There were groups like the PCCC and Justice Democrats that were very supportive of me in the primary, and I'm grateful for that. But after the primary, most, if not all, of those groups have come back in and have been great, and we've done really well with their help.
Yeah, and now that you've moved past the primary, are some of those groups, I mean, considering that a lot of these races, including yours, this is pretty tight. Are they now being more supportive now that you've locked down the nomination?
Well, it's hard for me to compare it to something because this is the first time I've run for a federal office, but I do feel like we've had a lot of support. The DCCC, groups like Emily's List and NARAL and Sierra Club have now come in and endorsed me, and so and I'm grateful for their help.
Okay, good. You actually hit most of the ones I was concerned about, so I'm glad to hear that they are actually being more supportive now. So you were talking about a positive vision for the future. So I've been trying to make the case daily on the show that the stakes in this election could not be higher. If you are lucky enough to win, if the Democrats indeed are able to retake the House, what are some of the things that you think you could be helpful in pushing for? Like, what are some of the things that people should have on the horizon and make them want to go out and vote, want to see a change in the composition of the House?
Well, first, and one of the biggest issues in this district now we've knocked about 140,000 doors, and healthcare comes up the most of any issue. And so I want to work on healthcare. It's the reason I'm running. I believe that everybody in this country should have access to healthcare and that we shouldn't have to choose between paying our prescription drugs and putting food on the table. So that's why I'm running. And that's one of the things that I think we should be fighting for right now more than ever, because this is a crisis in our country. I meet far too many people that are drowning in medical bills or having health issues, and they're scared. They're scared that the Republican Party is going to take away their health care. And this has real ramifications for people. And I think that if you're a policymaker who's in Washington and perhaps you didn't come from any kind of background where you meet regular working people every day, that maybe you don't understand the plight that Americans go through.
No, I'm so glad that you brought that up because actually I'm very curious about that. I mean, you've been talking to so many voters, both in this general election, but also back during the primary. There are these various narratives about what is driving people to vote, what is getting people fired up and things like that. But based on your experience, I mean, you mentioned healthcare right there, but what are the other issues that the more national media is not getting about what's driving political engagement in these midterms?
So while healthcare is the number one thing we hear at the doors, student debt comes up a lot. I have a lot of people in the district who are drowning in debt. And this is not just impacting young people, although it's a huge issue for young people. You've got parents who have their own student loans and now they're taking on their kids' student loans. And senior citizens, you've got 20% of senior citizens who have student loan debt. This inhibits people's ability to buy a home, to take a vacation. And the fact that the federal government is profiting off these student loans, where we now have over $1.5 trillion in student debt in our country, this is something that we have to fix, and there are some great creative solutions in front of us to do that. So that's another thing that, as a board member of a community college, I'm excited to get in there and do.
Well, I want to thank you for joining our show once again. I mean, yours is one of the races that we're going to be watching, like with bated breath on election day. Your opponent is Republican Don Bacon. I think that if people are paying attention to your race, the distinction between you two are very clear at this point. So good luck in your upcoming election.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.